A deep look into the war inside Amy. In the captivating world of Lee Sung-jin's Netflix series, Beef, Holly Wong masterfully portrays the complex character of Amy Lau. On the surface, Amy appears to have it all, a thriving business and an outwardly successful life. However, beneath this veneer of achievement lies a profound darkness, as Amy grapples with the weight of her own depression. Jin's compelling series delves deep into the intricate dynamics of childhood trauma and the insidious effects of repressed anger. It explores how individuals, like Amy, grow up emulating their parents' toxic behaviors and inadvertently perpetuate a cycle of emotional toxicity for future generations. In this video, we're going to take a deep look into the psychology of Amy. Jin's show presents what childhood trauma and repressed anger do to people, and how children grow up to mirror their parents, and then proceed to pass on the same toxic traits to their offspring until they decide to break this cycle of toxicity. Frustration is built up from years of subtle jabs, being ignored or silenced, and failing to have what someone deeply desires. This image of frustration is Amy, whose life is in shambles, but she still tries to present a brave face for both her professional and personal lives. But how far does Amy succeed in this facade? And does she ever break out this cycle? Amy, a highly dedicated and committed business owner, is confronted with an immensely challenging situation as she embarks on selling her treasure store, Koyohas. However, her challenges extend far beyond her professional life, permeating her realm and burdening her with many issues. One of the most prominent struggles she grapples with is her strained relationship with her mother-in-law and husband, which adds an extra layer of dissatisfaction to her already troubled state of mind. Yet, amidst all these adversities, Amy's love for her young daughter, June, remains resolute and unwavering, motivating her to relentlessly strive for nurturing and providing a caring environment as a mother. Amy's character also reveals a vulnerable side that is exposed and amplified when she becomes the target of a harrowing road rage incident captured on video. This distressing event leaves her feeling utterly defenseless and exposed, as the incident gains widespread attention and invites public scrutiny. Within this fragile and vulnerable state, a dangerous and destructive cycle begins to unfold. Amy and the other party involved in the road rage incident, Danny Cho, embark on a retaliatory path, initiating a seamlessly endless war against each other, driven by their desire for revenge and retribution. Unfortunately, their actions only further stoke their anger, intensifying their thirst for vengeance. As the conflict escalates between Amy and Danny, their rage becomes increasingly intertwined, resulting in more significant repercussions for both parties. The toxic dynamic they perpetuate threatens to engulf them, blurring the boundaries between what is right and wrong. Unwittingly caught in the throes of this escalating vengeance, Amy finds herself entangled in a vicious cycle that strains her relationships and jeopardizes her well-being. Amy Lau may outwardly appear to lead a life of affluence and achievement, residing in an opulent home and being supported by her husband, who assumes the role of a stay-at-home parent while pursuing his passion as a sculptor. However, beneath the facade of success, Amy silently battles an overwhelming sense of turmoil and dissatisfaction that haunts her every waking moment. The road rage incident she becomes embroiled in with a random truck driver serves as a release valve for the pent-up emotions of anger, frustration, and rage accumulating within her over time. These outbursts directly respond to the suffocating expectations imposed on her by societal norms, which demand that she conform to racial stereotypes by assuming a meek, soft-spoken, and compliant demeanor throughout her life. In Beef, Amy Lau repressed trauma and rage. Amy Lau has not been an easy person to watch in Beef. Amy has been more complicated than Danny, whose objectives and character development are clear. We knew she was depressed, and despite the suggestion that it began when she was a teenager, we feel it was always present. Mental health concerns are sometimes generational, and Amy describes how her parents immigrated to the United States after witnessing the Vietnam War firsthand. That behavior influences even the most influential minds and will be passed down through generations. Amy Lau's lifestyle symbolizes wealth and success, with a gorgeous home and a stay-at-home husband who creates sculptures. But Amy is emotionally screaming every day. Her road rage with a random trucker results from her being compelled to adhere to racial norms and being meek, soft-spoken, and well-behaved for most of her life. Amy is tired from working all day to provide for her entire family so that her daughter June might enjoy the life she never had, and her stay-at-home husband George is of little use. Amy's house is meant to be her haven after suffering her employees' incorrect assumption of her ancestry and eating an unpleasant billionaire's subtly racist jibes. Her spouse, known for his sickly sweet positivism, interrupts her mid-sentence and spews Zen drivel like anger is a transient state of consciousness, which irritates her even more. Amy Lau had never been happy, and growing up with parents who frequently battled and failed to interact with her must have meant she had no idea what was going on. Amy had overheard her father's comments that children are costly, hinting that he never intended Amy to be born. Her mother had responded that they didn't have a choice, which meant that under different circumstances, she may have chosen to be childless or have a kid later, all of which told Amy was an inconvenience. Add to it that Amy Lau had discovered her father cheating, suggesting he probably never loved his wife. So, if Amy's father did not want Amy and did not love his wife, what was the point of his presence in the family? It may have been a matter of duty. Amy also believed that her mother did not want her, and she surmised from the battle she overheard that she could be unhappy in the marriage. So, what was she doing with her husband? Again, duty calls. Duty to a kid neither of them wanted, but had to care for since they brought her into the world. This is a common condition for children of dissatisfied parents. Amy could have been a different person if her parents had expressed to her that they loved her. Amy Lau never truly learned to love herself, so she did not want to have children to avoid passing on her sadness to the next generation. But then she met George, who, in Amy's words, was everything she wasn't. George is a happy person, and viewers see his happiness as poisonous. He has never really encountered any problems because he grew up wealthy with parents who worshipped him and lavished him with everything. George had a strong ambition to build a name for himself, but rarely put himself out there. He might have been able to work on his painting enough to make it sellable if he had. Instead, he entirely relied on Amy to run the household. Amy's demands are never met, and she strains herself to provide for her family. She wants to retire early and spend more time with her daughter, June, but her husband will not go out of his way to assist her, instead saying things like, "Money isn't everything." Meanwhile, a random Korean handyman infiltrates her home, nearly destroying her European oak bathroom flooring. Amy becomes embroiled in a conflict with a man named Danny Cho, which escalates into a vicious rivalry in which the two are willing to go to any length to bring the other down. Even in this situation, her spouse is useless, and she ends herself arguing with him during an art display. Amy eventually expresses her dissatisfaction and fatigue with George, being as monotonous as a piece of wood in hushed tones, while plastering a smile for their daughter. She also vows to extract retribution by spray painting insults on Danny's truck and producing a phony ID to catfish his brother Paul. Amy is an angry and hypocritical lady throughout Beef. She not only cheats on George with Danny's brother Paul, but she also keeps it a secret from him, and then becomes enraged when George admits to having an emotional bond with her employee, Mia. Despite how she's portrayed in a few episodes, she's not a monster. Amy Lau was a profoundly tragic character, since her sorrow sprang only from the conditional nature of love. She believed her parents didn't love her, and assumed her husband wouldn't love her if she didn't work so hard to provide him with a comfortable existence. Even her kid, June, whom she adored with all her heart, did not love Amy as unreservedly as she assumed. In contrast to what her parents had done for her, Amy gave the stability and familiarity children require, yet she still felt she was falling short. It is one thing to say that we must love ourselves, but when we are alone in our love for ourselves, despite our best efforts, it makes us wonder if there is anything to love, or if we are grasping at straws. And this is where Amy Lau's interaction with Danny made a difference. Sometimes all we need to do is articulate our ideas, whether good or terrible, and their weight begins to lift. Despite her dislike for Danny, he was the one person she had been able to confide in, and in the process, received the validation she had been looking for. Amy wasn't sure whether she was likable anymore, but she had a buddy now, and was willing to stick with him through thick and thin. As Amy's journey reaches its climax, a profound realization dawns upon her. Of all the people she has encountered, it is Danny, her former arch-nemesis, who truly understands her at a deep level. This revelation is accompanied by the awareness that she has never been able to authentically express her true self to anyone before this unexpected connection. The conclusion of the tumultuous journey in Beef finds Amy and Danny nearby, with Danny lying in a hospital bed after being shot by Amy's husband. Despite their turbulent history, the two former adversaries now support each other, determined to navigate back to civilization together. Astoundingly, it becomes evident that Amy Lau and Danny Cho share more similarities than differences, and the encounter with the poisonous berries unravels this fundamental truth. Amy's deepest desires and frustrations are laid bare in this poignant moment of vulnerability, revealing her yearning for a genuine sense of belonging. The convergence of circumstances has allowed her to shed the facade she has carried for so long, and discover the solace in an unexpected bond. It is a testament to the transformative power of shared experiences and the potential for self-discovery, even in the most challenging and adverse circumstances.